Welcome back, Smarties Studio, a definitive home for stories, talent, and strategic thinking behind the Smarties caliber excellence. The Smarties goes beyond the award stage, offering a lot of the marketing community a deeper lens on the campaigns. Smarties Studio provides a global perspective with access to award-winning campaigns, peer-level conversation with some unfiltered insights, showcasing the real business impact.
Nogger's new motto? Hunger no more. Because 9 out of 10 people eat Nogger to feel full, but some still weren't full. Reviewing past posts, we kept seeing the same request. Make a full caramel one already. So we told our followers, 300,000 likes plus a comment from Demet Akalin equals we'll launch a caramel Nogger. We hit 40 million plus views. We broke the like button. 330,000 plus likes, 40,000 plus comments. Everyone kept pinging Demet Akalin. Drop a comment, please. And she joined the convoy. Then we asked everyone, what do you crave most?
Ama gerçek aşkı Nogger'ın adı.
Tabii ki.
Ben karamelciyim.
The answer was clear, the caramel. We wanted to answer all that love with something truly filling. Nogger Full Caramel. We took user-generated content, and in 8 days, we created a brand new product. We started production, 900,000 units. Before we even announced it, people went store to stock up. Feeds filled with Nogger Full Caramel posts.
Nogger iki tarafı da karamelli olanı çıkardı. Onu mu bilmiyorsun?
Ne diyorsun? Ne diyorsun? Ne diyorsun?
Carts filled up online. Caramel lovers finally got their fill with Nogger Full Caramel. 25 million unique reach, approximately 130 million views, more than 1 million engagements, 3 times the engagement of our previous best-performing campaign. And we still weren't done. Nogger Full Caramel sold 13% more than Classic Nogger. It became Algida's best-selling product. Born on TikTok, made by Algida. Algida's first innovation born from social media. Nogger Full Caramel.
With that, let me welcome Helen to the conversation. Welcome, Helen.
Hi, Rohit. Thanks for having me.
The campaign actually won in the instant impact promotion category, and we were looking at a very interesting aspect of this campaign, which really led us to believe that there is true innovation that can come from consumer insights. What I wanted to understand from you and to get the conversation started, what was the real idea behind it?
Well, it's a bit complex with Nogger because it is one of our most iconic and best performing snacking brands. But what made it special that it was a true classic. So its success has been built around a distinctive, let's say, product that the consumers have loved for years. But rather than launching, bunch of innovations, we were proposing them, offering them the same good old Nogger each and every year. So when this particular conversation started growing with Nogger Karamel, it immediately stood out. No matter what we posted in social media, from our Algida TikTok account, whether it was directly about Nogger or not, we kept seeing the same requests in the comments. Why don't you make a Nogger that's only with caramel? So at first, it felt like one of those internet jokes, which you see everywhere on TikTok nowadays. But the comments never really stopped. In fact, we started joking internally that the consumers were more consistent than our content calendar itself. But behind the humor and everything else, though, there was this serious question. Was this just a temporary obsession from the consumer that was, asking for caramel, Nogger caramel, or it was a genuine, consumer demand? So instead of guessing, we decided to take control and use social media to find the answer. The response was immediate and overwhelming. That was the moment we realized that we were no longer looking at a comment trend, but we were looking at a product opportunity.
Appears that it started from a very simple request from consumers. But at what point did you realize that the opportunity for this to become a product is real and there will be demand on top of it?
Well, it's a really good question because as Algida, we often receive product suggestions that we don't really take into account every time. But I think what made this one different was the scale and the consistency of the demands. People weren't asking, something completely new. They were asking for more of something they already have with Nugger, because in the regular Nugger you have chocolate and you have caramel. So people were basically asking to make a full caramel product. But before taking, such a big step, we wanted proof, not because we didn't believe the consumer, but because we wanted to understand whether this was a minority or a real market, let's say, opportunity. So instead of running a traditional research study, we went back to the place where the idea was born and said, which is TikTok, which is social media. And we basically said, okay, let's just show us how much you need it. And we challenged the consumers to help us reach 300,000 likes and even get a comment from one of Turkey's biggest celebrities, Demet Akalın. Secretly, I think some of us, even myself, we thought it might be it might take a while, but it didn't. I think a couple of days, around 1 week after the challenge took off, almost immediate, we took a step back. The decision felt really, less like a risk and much like a responsibility, because consumers had spoken very clearly, and we felt that it was our turn to listen, and also act on it.
Yes, it's very interesting because very rarely do products get designed by consumers, especially a product which is already selling. And what was very unique here is that there was a certain amount of confidence that the consumers had in the voice that they were sharing. What is very intriguing here, and I think a lot of the marketers would like to also understand, there is a lot of trends on social media. There are a lot of times where social handles come up with hashtags and trends. Was there a definitive plan to track this social listening, to decipher what really came out of it? And how did you pick up on Caramel? And how did that turn into a reality? Was it brand and the agency working together?
The thing with caramel, I think, is insane and is perfectly illogical. You do not have trend to explain it, but people have been asking for it for many years and many months, and we just needed to understand whether it was an organized demand or whether it was just a internet joke. Is something that people are obsessed about teasing you around on official account, or it was serious. I personally think that the consumers today, they just don't want brands that listen to them. They want the proof that they are being heard. And in our case, people actually see their influence on the outcome. They started the challenge, they spread the word, and they even, call out for their friends, tag their friends. They created this call to action environment. Please come and like the, post on the Aygıda account. Please give a comment, leave a comment. They also spread their, let's say, ambition and passion to Demet Akalın's TikTok page as well. Every single comment on her latest post was about, please come to Aygıda TikTok account and leave a comment. So there was this community that was really willing to spread the word for themselves. And essentially, they helped to validate the business case, the business idea, the product idea itself. So it was there all the time, but we actually helped them to organize a little bit more, let's say, and make it a proper product idea.
So, would it be fair to say that this was a truly consumer driven viral campaign that resulted in a product which came out of the factory?
Yeah, I think it's really fair to say. And even beyond that, I think one of my favorite moments was seeing comments from people, and they were saying, we did this, we achieved this. They actually listened to us. And as marketeers, I think we spend a lot of time trying to create emotional connections with the consumers. And here the connection was already there because consumers played a pivotal role in creating the outcome. And I think that's what turned the excitement into a genuine, let's say, ownership.
It's very interesting that you effectively invited the consumers into the innovation process, made them feel responsible for it, for not just buying the product but also helping create it. And that to me is very unique and first of its kind. But when this new product was created, it only took 8 days to produce some 900,000 units, but it didn't stop there. So how did that internal alignment between the stakeholders to actually make this happen?
the consumer demand did a lot of the alignment for us because in large organizations like ourselves, one of the biggest challenges often building confidence around a new idea. And in this case, we weren't asking people to believe in a hypothetical opportunity. We could see the momentum unfolding in real time. The engagement, the comments, the creator reactions, everything pointed to the same thing. The consumers genuinely wanted this product. So that created a strong sense of urgency across the business. Marketing, R&D, supply chain, sales, and our customers teams quickly rolled around this one big shared goal. There was a collective feeling that if the consumer really, move the needle, sales will come around. So while launching a new product in 8 days, as you mentioned, and producing nearly around 1 million units before launch, I think it sounds ambitious, but internally I felt like it was the right response to a really clear opportunity and consumer insight signal.
The campaign started with 300 likes that you guys wanted. There were a lot of social media. There was a request from a celebrity to do that. But the overall campaign generated a fair amount of interest, 130 million views, more than a million engagements, and ultimately one of your best selling products that was generated. So as a brand person who's looking at a lot of the metrics from a marketing perspective, from advertising, brand salience, performance, etc., which result was the most significant for you and why?
Well, I won't lie to you. If I had to choose, I think it would be the sales performance because we sell all those units in a period where we don't usually used to sell ice cream. So around 1 million units is quite impressive. But don't get me wrong, I think 130 million views and more than a million engagements are really incredible results, especially for a brand like Nogger. They showed us that we had captured people's attention and become part of the cultural conversation. But what made this case truly special was what happened next. The excitement didn't stay on social media. It translated into the real consumer behavior. And seeing Nugget Full Caramel become the best-selling product across all Algida portfolio, outperforming iconic brands like Magnum, Cornetto during the launch period was probably the strongest validation that I could seek for as a marketeer.
Wow, that's a lot of credit to the campaign and the power of the consumers. So, in this narrative of social media and the power of social, the power of consumers, and the ability to listen to the discussion that happens, the social listening, do you think social platforms will increasingly become research and development labs for brands? Given that the consumers tend to have a very simple request which can be heard and can be populated through a lot of social media.
Well, I do think social platforms will increasingly play a pivotal role in innovation itself, but maybe not in the way people traditionally think about R&D. Social media, in my view, won't replace the consumer research, product development, or strategic thinking, but it does give brands something incredibly valuable: the unfiltered consumer behavior in real time. Consumers openly share what they love, what they don't, and what they wish existed, and sometimes they even tell you exactly what product they want. So the lesson for us, in my view, is that listening is actually the easy part. The harder part is recognizing when a conversation is strong enough to act on, and then having the organizational agility to respond while the momentum is still there. And I think Turkey is in a particularly strong position when it comes to this mindset within our organization. So we are where the new ideas are developed, tested, and refined before going to market globally. That culture of experimentation helps us turn consumer signals into more tangible products, more tangible innovations. But if I had one piece of advice for rest of the marketeers, it would be that don't look for the isolated comments, look for the patterns. I think a single comment is only a feedback, but thousands of people, hundreds of people are repeatedly asking for the same thing can be your next product.
So, if there is a pattern here, did the insights from some of the other marketeers or industries or campaigns help influence that decision on finding that pattern for you guys?
I think that's one of the reasons I really like as a marketer to look outside and see the other peer companies or other different sector companies are doing.
At the end of the day, sales numbers talk, right? Advertising and marketing is all about selling products. And if consumers are willing to buy the product which they help create, there's nothing better than that. But I want to get away from this discussion from a consumer perspective, but more from a brand and a marketeer perspective. This was a lucky strike, if you will. You struck gold where you didn't expect, you didn't plan. Consumers planned it for you guys. But how do you unpack this thinking and then make it part of the product cycle, part of the marketing, advertising thinking from to help accelerate some of the innovation and effectiveness that happens? And as you said, Turkey is increasingly playing that role globally as the thought leader to drive some of the thinking. So, would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think marketeers are naturally curious people, but we're also doomed to, stick with the dashboards, turnovers, the gross margins, whatsoever. But I think the marketeer inside me was realizing how irrational people are and how it is interesting. And we all borrow ideas, challenge, assumptions, and learn from each other's success, and sometimes from each other's mistakes as well. The truth is, I think consumer behavior is changing way too fast for any of us to pretend that we have all the answers. So the more openly we share what's working and what's not working, the faster we all get better. At the end of the day, I think we are human. We are really curious human beings, and the consumer is just telling us what we need. So I think this is usually how the best ideas are being formed.
Great. It always helps to have increased brand engagement, cultural relevance, etc., with different audiences. It helps to provide portfolio a balance of creating new products, etc. Towards the end of this discussion, I want to get away from just the campaign, but and the metrics, but just wanted to understand: is there a plan or is there a strategy to actually build on this for new variants of this product? Do you think you would go back to the consumers asking them for something different, or would it be a one-off kind of a campaign and wait for next social listening?
As for Nugger, this was a demand that has been going around for many, let's say, years, and we did it. So I think it is a good place to, stop at least with Nugger. But with other brands, we are actually trying to create an ecosystem where we are trying to create the demand on the socials and then to deliver the product. Because majority of the time, people already have it in mind and they're asking for it, or you are creating this demand that they are not really aware that they have it in their mind. So it goes either way. But coming back to your question, I think with Nugger, there is no other demand that is that obvious, but we are chasing after some other things. But I think it's a bit early to speak about them. But let's say just watch the space and you will hear more from us.
We will be looking forward to that. Okay, so Helen, I have a couple of other questions for you, but just wanted to understand more from your personal perspective. What sparked your curiosity in marketing and consumer behavior, and what led you to be a marketeer personally?
I mean, honestly, as I mentioned before, I think it all started when I realized how, people are wonderfully irrational. I think as marketeers, we like the data, we like the, reports, but at the end of the day, we are all trying to understand humans. Humans don't always make decisions logically, they make them emotionally, socially, and sometimes in a very unexpected way. I've always been curious about what sits behind those decisions, and why do certain products and brands become a part of culture, and why do some ideas spread around while the others don't, and why do people passionately campaign for an all caramel version of an ice cream? I think that combination of psychology and creativity and business is what drew me to marketing, and what still keeps me interested today.
Any particular campaign that was an inspiration for you to pursue a marketing career?
Well, not a particular campaign, but for me, I mean, my career and everything that I have in here. I think it goes back much further and goes well beyond, any campaign or any person, because ice cream was always my favorite treat growing up. And I still remember coming home from school as a little girl and running, straight to Algida cabinet to see what was inside. And there was always a sense of excitement in that moment. It was my own, almost like a daily ritual, let's say. My relationship with the brands that I'm working for started long before I become a marketeer, and they were already a part of my childhood memories. That's why I think working for this brand, for this company, or for this category means much more to me than just a career choice. It genuinely feels like a dream come true, let's say.
And every child's dream is to actually have ice cream, and there's nothing better than to be working for one such famous company. Nogger Full Caramel created a unique cultural and commercial impact by transforming an online fan request into a nationwide success. Within 2 weeks, it became the best selling product in the entire portfolio, surpassing some of the most iconic brands like Magnum and Cornetto. The performance demonstrated not only the strength of consumer led innovation, but also the power of social conversation to drive measurable sales. This campaign helped redefine, if you will, product development and communication, and the fact that they could actually merge. For the first time, it was the social media was used as the source of insight and a launch challenge, proving that listening to consumer in real time can create products that resonate deeply and scale commercially. It was a great proof of concept, and I'm sure a lot many more industries, lot many more brands, and lot many more products may be built in such manner in the future. Thank you so much, Helen, for your time. We really appreciate it. And there are some really valuable nuggets that you've shared, which I'm sure marketeers like yourself and others will take learning from and help build some new, scalable, commercially successful future innovative campaigns. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.